So, of course, here's something that's changed. We're sitting in this beautiful little gazebo in an empty lot. And as I remembered, there was a Ben Franklin store here.
There were, if I'm not mistaken, 3 different stores here. And this is not a vacant lot. This is a mini park.
Oh.
You probably didn't recognize it as such.
Well, I probably did because I think my mother had a lot to do with it.
She did, and this gazebo is much in part thanks to her.
Yes.
Ben Franklin, the arts and crafts and dime store, was here. Also, Peril and Lowenstein, the jewelry store. If you remember them, they had the front of the building was mosaic tiles about 1 inch square.
And the clock that never moved?
And the clock that never moved.
Yeah.
And then there was a third store here, and for the life of me, I want to say it was a hardware store, perhaps owned by Robbie Robertson. And I would like to say one thing. I've learned things since Lon Carter has been my hero for these many years. Lon will give you an answer, but he will preface it with, as I recall.
Oh, yeah.
So what I'm telling you is as I recall. Doesn't have to be accurate, but as I recall. So, moving right along.
Well, I'm just going to move right into the camera and say how many people watching this bought a turtle in Ben Franklin, because that's one of my biggest memories of childhood in Mayfield.
Painted turtles also.
A painted turtle,
absolutely
doomed to
right.
die, sadly, yes.
And soon.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move along, aren't we?
Absolutely
Cover
right.
some space.
Let's take the whole side, the west side of the square, and see if we can recall what may have been there way back then.
And any amusing anecdotes.
Oh, anecdotes are good.
I'll be glad. What you like.
I want more of a cherry phosphate, if at all possible, or a cherry Coke. I think not.
For me.
Banana malt.
Oh, but sadly, Rexall
You're right.
is gone.
Rexall Drugstore is no longer here. We've given way to more attorneys. But this is the location of the former White's Rexall, Evans Rexall Drugstore, which some in your class may have come up here some after school. I know the older students in the early 60s spent a lot of time here after school. But alas and alack, it is no longer here. Progress has come along, and the lawyer is the thing of the day. You remember what was next door?
No, what was next door?
Let me share that with you. The Exchange Bank.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. We go in there.
Let's walk by here, the bank. The bank was the second oldest in town, I believe, like 1899, I believe is when it was actually established. I want to say Mr. Anderson wasn't he president of this bank at one time? Oh, wait, the bank is no longer here.
No?
It's part of the lawyer's office. I told you, lawyers taking over wherever you go.
And
you don't have any in your class, do you?
You don't see any tire tracks on the road. This
Okay.
is more like it.
Now, how many remember what was next to the Exchange Bank? Moorhead's. Moorhead Brothers Bookstore. And what do you remember most about Moorhead's? That's where everyone bought their school books. Your teacher would.
I'm liking this Mayfield Cardinal thing in the window.
Well, this ties it into Mayfield. And by the way, this is Tillman Week, as some of the folks may remember. And we still recognize it here. The difference is, and I think you mentioned it earlier, they don't paint the windows downtown like they used to. And I don't know exactly when that stopped, but I think the merchants got tired of the mess after the first rain or washing and staining the sidewalks. But you remember Moorhead's, they had magazines at the front, school books in the middle, and then on around the corner it came out on Broadway again.
But the painting the windows was a big community
No, it was.
thing.
And you probably don't remember this. There used to be a snake dance. Do you remember that?
The snake
It would
dance.
start at the high school, come all the way up 7th, go around the square.
With drums.
And everything, and hundreds of kids would hold hands, and snake dance is a thing of the past. The reason it stopped, about 1965, I think, they went through Newberry's and broke one of the glasses, one of the glass windows there.
Oh.
So they kind of stopped it then. Hooligans, no doubt.
I remember people streaming
Still
up
there,
and down.
it's still standing. Each store is the same as it was in 1899, and I don't know why. There were a number of Jewish merchants in town, and the first 2 buildings from 7th Street, remember Kahn's Ladies Clothing Store and Oscar Knocklin. It was a men's clothing store. Oscar was the kind of gentleman that his first customer today was going to buy something, and often you would try on maybe a sport coat that didn't fit exactly right, and he would button it up for you, and then he would grab it behind your neck and bunch it up and say, now look how nicely that fits. But he would make a sale. Next we had Parks Belk, I guess it is.